Well, welcome everybody back to another episode of Connect, Inspire, Create. And we are here just to give you a little bit of encouragement, inspiration, and just learn some new things and discover new things from the people that you listen to that are my guests. And as always, I want to encourage you to lead with heart and authenticity. So thank you for listening to our show today and welcome, Sarah. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Carol. I'm excited to be here.
So let me tell you just a little bit about Sarah. Sarah is the CEO of Duct Tape Marketing. And since her start in December 2010, and we have a little story to share about that, she has consulted and advised thousands of small business owners on how to build, grow, and scale a profitable business. She has a passion for helping small business owners focus on their zone of genius and build a team around them to support their growth goals. The area of work, Sarah, that you share that lights you up most is training. So
Yeah, I
whether
love
you're
it.
training a new team member, a long-term client, or a new group of fractional CMOs, that's your happy space, I believe.
That is.
All right, wonderful. So not only am I thrilled to be talking to Sarah today, but there was a coincidental connection when Sarah and I met on Podmatch, which is where most of my guests, I find them there on Podmatch. I happen to love that platform. It has served me really well over the last 3 years. But I actually started following Duct Tape Marketing in 2010, and that is when you joined as an intern. And I have to say, I'm going to share, I still have my copy, which was published in 2010 of Referral Engine by John Yance. So it feels like full circle coming back to chat to you now as the
That is.
CEO. So tell me a little bit more about that wonderful journey of when you started as an intern in 2010 and look where you are today.
Yeah, I love that story. Thanks for sharing it. It's great that we've been both of us been following or part of duct tape marketing for kind of the same time frame over the years. So
Absolutely.
I love that.
Right.
So I started at Duct Tape Marketing, as you said, as an intern back in December 2010. And at that point, I really didn't know a ton about marketing or business. I had a lot to learn, as most interns do. And so started as the intern role, really fell in love with what we were doing at Duct Tape Marketing with our mission to serve small businesses and really make marketing as practical and easy to understand as possible. And so after my intern time, I moved into community manager and I was account manager for our clients. I was fractional CMO for our clients. I was COO at Duct Tape Marketing. I was running our sales. And now, finally, in December of last year, I moved into the CEO seat. And so it's been quite a journey of learning and experimenting and growing over the years. But I think the fact that I've played so many different roles within our company, it's ultimately allowed me to be a better leader today to the people that I manage.
I know that was going to be one of my questions was wearing so many different hats. What a wonderful opportunity because I think that does, as it said, puts you in such a supportive role to understand different challenges and different departments because you've touched on each of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we do as well is we certify and train marketing consultants, agencies, fractional CMOs, and a lot of people that are joining that program. We have established members that join, but we also have a lot of people that are in startup mode. And so maybe they have, 15 years of experience being a CMO at a company and they're leaving for the first time to become a fractional CMO. And so they're entering this business and oftentimes they're going to have to play all of those roles for a long time until they're really able to bring in a support system around them. So that experience has also helped me train that audience as well, because I know what it's like to feel like you're never going to be in sales and then all of a sudden have to learn how to be comfortable in sales and then eventually learn to love sales. Like I've gone through that transformation myself. And so when someone comes to our program and they're like, I love marketing, but now I have to sell because I own this business, I'm able to support them on, the mindset work that goes into making that
Mm.
transition from being, scared or thinking you're not going to be good at sales to eventually one day learning to love it.
Oh, yeah, I think that just is it's an absolute gem to be able to have that background. You talk about small businesses, not they should own and not rent.
Yeah.
their marketing. Can you explain that a little bit more for us?
Of course. I actually have a new book coming out. It's my first book.
Mm.
I don't know when this podcast episode will go live, but it's coming out August 13th. And it's called Unchained: Breaking Free from Broken Marketing Models. And it's exactly on that concept of owning versus renting your marketing. So, a little bit of a backstory: we've been a marketing agency for 31 years at this point, where we've served clients over those years, like handling strategy and execution. But most recently, in the last 6 or so months ago, we've shifted to what we're calling a little bit more of a anti-agency model. So we're not
Mm.
bashing agencies. We've been one. We've always been one. But with the evolution of I think small businesses finally have the opportunity to bring some of the marketing execution in-house. And so that's a lot of what we're doing with the own versus rent your marketing. We're coming in for our clients. We're still serving as a strategic leader, as like a fractional CMO, where we're creating the marketing strategy, but then we're analyzing their internal team and up leveling their internal team by building AI systems below them to help with execution. And so there's a
Mm.
lot of challenges when small businesses just outsource their marketing. Again, I've been selling to small businesses for quite some time now, and I've heard so many horror stories over the years. And again, it's not that agencies are bad or wrong; like they're a great solution, for clients in the right situation. But I think what small business owners need is they need more clarity and confidence in their marketing, because there's a lot of confusion in the space. And so when we can come in and map out the strategy, map out the team strategy, and then elevate internal teams, it really gives them a lot more sense of control over what's actually being done from a marketing perspective.
I love that. Just that thought that you've got this big vision board and you have it laid out for you. Now let's just step in and learn how to take control and do the work. And I'm going to come back to the AI part, but I'd love to ask you, with my listeners often being in small businesses, feeling overwhelmed and just burnt out and going, I need to do all the marketing and I don't know what
Yeah.
I'm doing. What are some signs that they basically are just sinking and not building a solid foundation?
Yeah, I see it all the time with small businesses. Is they feel like they need to do all the things on all the channels at all of the time, and all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden they're on multiple platforms and they don't have proper tracking set up, and then they don't know what's actually working and not working, so they just keep doing all of the things. And
Right.
so that's what leads to overwhelm and
Mm.
burnout and the idea that marketing doesn't work. I've heard that over the years as
Yeah,
well. And
yeah.
so, my argument is marketing does work, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming if you're willing to take a step back and outline, like, what is your business strategy? What are you ultimately trying to accomplish as a business? And then outline what's your marketing strategy based on those business goals. Like,
Mm.
basically, how are we going to get there? And then take some time analyzing your team structure. That's something we call
Mm.
our business or our marketing strategy pyramid.
Okay.
And when you're thinking about marketing strategy, that means so many different things to so many different people. But to simplify it, what we think about is, what are you currently doing? So a bit of an audit on the front end. And then we do a bunch of research to create ideal client personas and messaging that resonates with them, because
Mm.
you need to know who you're targeting with what message before you can even think channels. And then we map out what's the customer journey look like. We have our own version called the marketing hourglass. So how can people get to know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer you?
Mm.
And then you can think about, okay, what channels are we going to be on to fill those steps in the marketing hourglass journey? And then you can put it into an execution calendar from there. But then when you do all of that, it's important to identify, okay, what metrics are we going to track to determine if these things are successful or not? And so that's how we always start with clients, is mapping out a comprehensive marketing strategy that maps out 3 months worth of execution calendar. And then every 3 months, you should do a bit of a quarterly strategic planning, where again you're coming back to what's the business trying to accomplish. Okay, what are the priorities from a marketing perspective to get us there? What are we going to track? And working kind of in those sprints throughout the year is a really good way to take a step back, to create a plan that you can then follow, which feels a lot less overwhelming than just doing all of the things.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing you when you say that and just going, number one, all platforms don't work for all
No,
people. And if you
no.
haven't done the work that you're talking about doing ahead of time, you have no idea. And so you're not measuring anything. You're just kind of flying in the dark in a certain way. But the other thing I think that's important is to stay with something for a period of time, because you
Yes.
can't just test something for 1 month or whatever and go, well, that's not working for me. So now I better be here and I better be there. But being consistent um,
Yep.
and showing up
Yeah,
is
that's exactly
important.
right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think the quarterly, committing to certain things for a
Mm,
3 months or a quarter is a good amount of time. I've heard over the years, like when we've launched meta ads for clients, 15 days and it's not working. And we're still in learning phase. Like it will, like we have to test, we have to optimize, we have to tweak, we have to
mm,
figure out what graphics and wordings, and so it's a process. And so a lot of times marketing efforts take time, but if you put the time in on the front end, it will pay off in the long run. SEO is another
right.
example, like that takes time to get it right in the front end, but it will pay off in the long run. And so patience is really important
I was just,
in
yeah.
yeah, in marketing in certain areas, but also, being patient but also paying attention to the metrics and tracking. Because
Mm,
on the other side of things, we work with a lot of home service type of companies as our clients, and a lot of them like remodeler contractors and HVAC
right.
contractors, and they'll say, oh, we've been sending out direct mailers for years, and we just keep doing it because we should. And then I'll say, great, what's your tracking look like? And they're like, oh, we don't have any in place. And I'm so why do
Mm,
you keep? Is it successful? Is it bringing in clients? Why do you keep doing this? And direct mail is a great platform for a lot of home service businesses
mhm.
if done correctly with the right messaging to the right people, with
Right.
the right, calls to action and all of that good stuff, and with the right tracking in place, because then you can actually determine, should we keep doing this or not? And I
Yeah.
think that's the question. Like, it just, if you're analyzing and you're feeling overwhelmed and you're looking at all the things you're doing from a marketing perspective, like you could even start there as just by saying, are we getting results from this? If we don't know, what tracking should we put in
Mm,
place, and what's a
mm,
success metric that will tell us if we should continue doing this or not? And so you
yeah.
could do a bit of a mini audit on your initiatives, and if you can't answer yes to those questions, then it might not be worth
Right.
pursuing any further.
And that's a service that you offer to your clients, because I always find that people get overwhelmed with tracking and if they're not analytically minded, they go, yeah, I just do it by feel.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I think there's two sides I've seen in the small business space. Either people over track and they obsess over everything, or they just kind of stay away from it because they don't really know where to look. And I think there's a bit of
mm,
a happy medium. And so we set up tracking for all of our clients as part of our retainers that we're working on. But if you're not working with anyone and you're interested in pursuing this, in our company, one of the things that we follow is we have a North Star spreadsheet that basically then is broken up by each of our key divisions. So marketing and sales and customer service and
mm,
finance and all the areas. And then my team leads for each of those divisions fills out the spreadsheet every single week. And then I meet with them one on one and we talk about these metrics. And so under marketing, it's like the most important metrics that I
mm,
need to know in order to understand if our marketing is on track or not.
right.
Same with sales and other areas. And so if those very high level important metrics are off, that then tells us that I need to go deeper into the more detailed tracking with the team to understand, like, where are things falling apart. And
Right.
so it's a manual process that we do with this spreadsheet, but we do that by choice. It causes my team to go out and actually analyze and put the numbers in and think about them. And then when we
Mm-hmm.
have a conversation, it's, what is this number telling us? Why are we behind? What's the plan to get back on track type of conversation
Right.
versus, me necessarily having to have all the answers. And so having something as simple as a Google sheet or an Excel
Mm-hmm.
spreadsheet, whatever
Mm-hmm.
you use, identifying what are your most important metrics for each of your departments, and then looking at those on a very high level on a weekly basis feels a lot over or less overwhelming than if
Right.
I was looking at, because we run ad campaigns for our own business, and so if I was looking at all of those detailed metrics every single week, like it's overwhelming for me because that's not my main priority in my role. So if I can see the most important metrics to those ad campaigns,
Mhm.
that's enough information for me to be able to continue to make sure we're on track and lead.
Right. Like a bird's eye view, kind of bringing it in and then you can decide where to go.
Yep,
Yeah, with all of
absolutely.
that.
Yeah,
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 but
absolutely. I talk about it as like mountaintop metrics. So you're staying up on the peak and then
right.
determining if you need to go down into the valley,
If you've
if
got to
things are
climb
looking.
down,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yep.
You live in a beautiful place, if I remember. You're out in the mountains in Boise.
Yes, so foothills are right behind my house back here, so I'm
Oh,
able to walk most days with my lab, and
oh
it's a beautiful
yeah.
place.
I know. I've spent a little bit of time there and just being on the river and walking around the
Mm.
river, absolutely gorgeous. Yeah,
Yeah.
lovely place to be.
Yes.
A question that so many people have, and I heard you mention it, I said it'd come back to it, is AI.
Mm.
So I would just love to know, how are you incorporating AI into your client systems, without sort of, and everybody's always up against this, keeping the human touch there. I'm a big fan of it. I love how, everything that it can help people with, but how are you incorporating AI into your client systems?
Of course. So we've been leaning into AI in a big way, not to replace our team, but to elevate them. And so that's how I
Mm,
talk about AI to our team and to our clients as well. And so one of the packages that we've always offered, I kind of talked on it a little bit earlier, is something called Strategy First. It's initial 30 to 45-day engagement. Before the evolution of AI, my team was going out there and manually creating the slide decks, manually doing the research. And it was just this tedious, time consuming process of like analyzing data and
hmm
creating slides. And so that's where a lot of their time was spent. We've now brought in AI solutions to help us create the initial slide decks and also do a lot of the heavy lifting of the tedious research.
hmm
And so now our team is able to spend more time thinking like humans, understanding the big picture, being empathetic, being authentic, understanding the client tone of voice and ideal clients and all of the things that are so important. And so it's freed up their space from the in the weeds work to
hmm
more overseeing that work. So then they can do more human work. And so that's how I think
Right.
about AI. And that's just an example in strategy, but we also use AI, in a lot of marketing execution as well. It's the way the world is going. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. And so, before my team would write a blog post from scratch, for example,
hmm
and now they use AI to assist with the initial research, to assist with, initial outlines and copy creation, but they give it all of the information and input on the front end. They use AI for first drafts and all that good stuff. Then they completely tweak it, edit it on the back end. And so
hmm
it's always human, AI, human,
Right.
is the
The
way that we
sandwich,
always
I
work.
kind of think, or
Yeah.
the like the sandwich effect. If my listeners, many of them happen to be solopreneurs, what would you suggest as a good way to get them supported and started in their marketing? A simple way that a single business owner could incorporate AI into their world
Incorporate
of
AI.
marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think where a lot of small businesses are getting stuck with it, AI, is they bring in AI solutions tools first without taking a step back and saying, like, what are we actually trying to accomplish strategically? And then bringing in AI. And so one of the exercises that I just had my team go through was write down all of the things that they're doing on a consistent basis, all
Mhm.
the skills they're using, all the repeatable tasks, and then basically rank those as, human needed or AI assisted or AI first. And then
Mm.
basically analyze, like, are there AI systems and tools that we could bring in for some of the AI system or AI first things that then would allow them to focus on more of their human elements in their
Right.
position. And so
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to think about it, is doing an audit if you're a solopreneur, doing an audit of your time and analyze, like, what are the things that are growing in importance and what are the things that are maybe decreasing in value a little bit because of AI. And then trying to save some time by bringing in AI solutions for those decreasing in value things so you can
Right.
spend more time on those things increasing in value. So for me, like, when I was analyzing my time originally, like going out and speaking more and having sales conversations and thinking strategically. And those things are what I identified are I think people want that human connection more
Mm-hmm.
and more. So those are a lot of times where I'm spending my time these days where, before I was writing all of my LinkedIn content from scratch, and I'm
Right.
by no means just putting out generic LinkedIn slop,
Right.
but I'm using LinkedIn to help me with content creation. Or I'm using, sorry, ChatGPT or Ella is
Mm-hmm.
another tool that I use to help with content creation because it is easier to do that more
Right.
efficiently today. So,
And then, Sarah, as you were sharing that as well, it's got to correlate as well with your sort of zones of passion and genius. Because
yes. Yep.
why, if you, as you said earlier, we spoke about training and how that lights you up, and that's your area. Why, then stay with that, and take those other areas and let, Chat GPT support you or whatever other AI tool that you choose to use. That, yeah. So I'm
Yeah, and that was actually
excited.
the second,
Go
sorry, real
ahead.
fast.
No,
That was
you go
actually
ahead.
that was actually the second part of the exercise we went through as a team. I didn't go all the way through it, but we then highlighted, what lights you up, what do you love doing, and then
Mm,
also where are you actually making the impact for the company or for your clients. And so we helped them filter down even further from the initial list they created. And then we
right.
actually had people write their future bios based on where they are growing into with the evolution of AI, because a lot of what we're talking about as a company is how can we future proof duct tape marketing in the agency space moving forward. And so we're making a lot of shifts company wide, but I'm also
Right.
trying to pay attention to how can I future proof my team and help them evolve and grow. So regardless if they're with duct tape marketing or anyone in the future,
Hmm.
they're building the right skills in the world that's coming out in front of us right now.
That's fantastic. I just wanted to touch on this one question. Is there a piece of outdated advice in marketing that you wish people would just stop listening to?
Well, I mean, I think the big one we touched on earlier is that you need to be on all channels and doing all of the
Right.
things. That's a big
Right.
one. But also SEO is changing so rapidly right now, and pretty much how we used to approach SEO a year ago, 6 months ago, to where it is today is completely different because it's made such major shifts. And so, if you're still doing what you've always done from an SEO perspective, it's time to start focusing on different ways of approaching SEO in the future as well.
Right, yeah, no, so important, and I think things have changed, and they're changing so rapidly with AI assisting us that I even saw somebody write a blog post the other day about how SEO because of AI is no longer the main thing to be looking at, and that was like I still think that there are keywords and things that matter in that world.
Yeah, and people are still using like Google search, but really a big focus of it is because even in Google, you'll see like AI summaries at the top. And so it's how can you
Right.
get into those AI summaries and how can you get into the LLMs that people are using to search as well. And so a lot of
Mm,
that is instead of just focusing on like specific keywords, a lot of it is answering questions that people are out there asking because then you'll
interesting.
be shown as a resource. And so like it's still important to focus on SEO as a tactic, but it's just
Hmm.
completely shifted the approach to how we're
Absolutely.
addressing SEO. Yeah.
Wow. So interesting. That
Yeah,
so this conversation's been wonderful. So thank you for sharing. And I'm excited
of
about your
course.
book that's coming
Thank
out.
you.
And I think we'll be pretty close to that. So
It's great.
I want to make sure that I have a link to get your, access to your book. And of course, I'll put in the website for Duct Tape Marketing. Is there anywhere else that is a good idea for people to find you or find out more about what the company offers?
Yeah, absolutely. Our website, as you said, Duct Tape Marketing. The book will be a great starting point when that's live. You can actually already pre-order, so I'll send you the link
Oh,
to that.
good. Lovely.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn as well. So again, my name is just Sara Nay, and you can find me there.
Super, Sarah. I'll make sure to have, all those links. What's the biggest takeaway that you would like listeners to get from our conversation today?
I would say if you're feeling overwhelmed, you're not alone. right now. A lot of people are feeling overwhelmed. I've been in this space for a while now, and I'm feeling overwhelmed right now
Mhm.
in marketing because it's just changing and evolving so quickly.
Right.
And so you're not alone if you're feeling overwhelmed. And my advice, again, is a lot of what we talked about, but just take a step back, analyze what your
Mhm.
business is trying to accomplish, and then start with 4 or 6 biggest both growth priorities and work on those over the next quarter, and so that will help you stay focused and hopefully
Mm.
less overwhelmed with everything that's happening.
Yeah, no, as you share that, I'm just thinking it comes back to baby steps. We hear that so often
Yes.
but like, let's just condense a little and let go and then sort of, and also having joy. There's got to be an element
Yes.
of passion and joy in marketing. I love marketing. And I mean, it is so wonderful when it works well to see that ripple effect go out. So yeah, don't forget to find the joy and passion in it all, right?
Exactly. And focus on the areas too that light you up. And so if you love being on video and if you love talking to people and if you love podcasting, like lean into that as well.
Right.
Because if you hate all those things and you try to force yourself into it, it's gonna make you dread. So, not only analyze like what makes sense for the company from a priority standpoint, but also as your point, what brings you joy, what lights you up, what
Mm.
makes you excited to be at work to focus on as well.
Yeah, so important. Wonderful. Sarah, thank you for your time. Thanks for sharing
Thank you.
with my listeners today. And it was wonderful to have you as a guest.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Okay.